Sudan is one of the poorest countries you hear about in the news. Yet beneath its soil lies a hidden fortune that could change its destiny forever. Imagine a land where gold, oil, uranium, and rare minerals are buried deep underground, while above the surface millions of people struggle to survive. This contradiction forces us to ask a powerful question. If Sudan is so rich in natural resources, why has it remained trapped in conflict, poverty, and foreign interference for decades? Every time violence erupts, every time a government collapses, the same pattern repeats itself. Outsiders rush in, borders become battlefields, and Sudan's wealth quietly flows out of the country. This is not just a story of war or politics. It is the story of how a nation's greatest blessing became its greatest curse. Located in the heart of Northeast Africa, Sudan occupies a strategic position linking Africa, the Middle East, and the Red Sea trade routes. For centuries, this land has been known not only for its history and culture, but also for the immense natural resources hidden beneath its deserts and mountains. In today's world, minerals are not just rocks. They are power. They fuel economies, control technology, shape global alliances, and even determine who wins and who loses on the world stage. Countries that possess these resources become targets of global attention, and Sudan is no exception. As we move forward in this video, we will uncover what minerals Sudan holds, why global and regional powers are deeply interested in them, and how this silent struggle over resources has fueled instability and suffering inside the country. By understanding Sudan's mineral wealth, we begin to understand why the world keeps its eyes and its hands firmly on Sudan. Sudan is often shown on the world stage as a land of crisis, famine, and endless conflict, but very few people are told what truly lies beneath its surface. Hidden under vast deserts and remote mountains is a treasure that many powerful nations desperately want to control. Gold, oil, uranium, iron, and rare earth minerals rest underground, while above it ordinary Sudanese citizens struggle with poverty and insecurity. This painful contrast immediately raises a question that cannot be ignored. Is Sudan fighting itself, or is it being fought over? History shows us that whenever a country is rich in resources but weak in governance, it becomes vulnerable to outside influence. In Sudan's case, violence is not random. It follows the paths of minerals, trade routes, and strategic locations. Every explosion, every political collapse, and every militia uprising seems connected to who controls the land and what lies beneath it. This video begins with a simple truth. Sudan's suffering cannot be understood without understanding its wealth. What appears to be chaos is, in reality, a carefully shaped struggle for power, profit, and global influence. Sudan lies at a crossroads of Africa and the Middle East, bordered by 7 countries and stretching along important Red Sea trade routes. This location alone gives it enormous geopolitical value, even before considering its natural resources. Since independence, Sudan has struggled with weak institutions, military rule, and internal divisions, making it an easy target for foreign interests. In the modern world, minerals are not just natural resources. They are the foundation of technology, weapons, energy systems, and economic dominance. Smartphones, electric vehicles, military equipment, and global infrastructure all depend on minerals like gold, copper, and rare earth elements. Countries that lack these resources must secure them elsewhere, often by influencing weaker states. Sudan, rich in minerals, but poor in stability, fits perfectly into this global equation. In this video, we will explore how Sudan's mineral wealth shapes international behavior, why global and regional powers are drawn to it, and how internal conflict is fueled by external demand. Understanding Sudan means looking beyond headlines and seeing the economic forces driving political decisions and armed conflict. Sudan is one of Africa's most resource-rich countries, yet much of its population sees little benefit from this natural wealth. Gold is the most important mineral, making Sudan one of the top gold producers on the continent. Gold mining takes place both legally and illegally, often controlled by armed groups rather than the state. In addition to gold, Sudan has significant reserves of iron ore, copper, chromium, manganese, and zinc, all essential for construction and manufacturing. The country also possesses uranium and rare earth minerals, which are critical for nuclear energy, advanced electronics, and modern defense systems. Oil has historically played a major role in Sudan's economy, especially before the separation of South Sudan, and it still remains strategically important. The problem is not the absence of resources, but the absence of control. Weak regulation, corruption, and conflict allow these minerals to be extracted cheaply and exported without benefiting the public. Instead of funding schools, hospitals, and development, mineral wealth often finances weapons, militias, and political power struggles, deepening Sudan's instability. Gold deserves special attention because it sits at the center of Sudan's modern conflict. Large gold reserves, especially in regions like Darfur, have turned mining areas into battlegrounds. Armed groups and militias compete violently for control over gold mines. Because gold is easy to smuggle, difficult to trace, and extremely valuable on the international market. Once extracted, Sudanese gold often leaves the country through informal routes, ending up in global markets, where its origins are hidden. This illegal gold trade provides armed groups with steady income to buy weapons and recruit fighters, prolonging conflict. Foreign companies and middlemen benefit from cheap access to gold, while avoiding responsibility for the violence linked to its extraction. For ordinary Sudanese citizens, gold has become a symbol of injustice, a resource that brings wealth to outsiders while leaving destruction at home. Instead of being a tool for national development, gold has become fuel for war, corruption, and foreign manipulation. Global powers have strong reasons to remain involved in Sudan, even if their involvement is not always visible. Western countries, including the United States and Europe, view Sudan through the lens of security, trade routes, and competition with rival powers. Stability near the Red Sea is critical for global shipping, and control over mineral supply chains is increasingly important in a world shifting toward renewable energy and advanced technology. China has invested heavily in infrastructure and resource extraction, following a strategy of long-term economic influence rather than direct political control. Russia's involvement, often through private military groups, focuses on exchanging security support for access to gold and strategic positioning. These powers rarely act out of charity. Their policies are shaped by national interests. Sudan becomes a chessboard where global rivals compete quietly, using economic pressure, arms, deals, and political alliances rather than direct invasion. Regional powers also play a significant role in Sudan's struggle. Gulf countries are deeply interested in Sudanese gold and agricultural land, viewing Sudan as both a resource supplier and a strategic partner near vital sea lanes. Egypt's involvement is closely tied to Nile water security and border stability, making Sudan's political future a matter of national interest. Neighboring countries fear that instability in Sudan could spill across borders, while at the same time benefiting from cheap resources and labor. These regional interests often clash, turning Sudan into a zone of competing agendas. Support is given to different factions, not necessarily to promote peace, but to secure influence. As a result, Sudan's internal divisions are reinforced rather than resolved, making lasting stability even more difficult to achieve. At the heart of Sudan's crisis is the link between mineral wealth and armed conflict. Control over resources means control over money, weapons, and political power. Militias and rival military factions fight not just for ideology, but for mines, trade routes, and foreign backing. Civilians are caught in the middle, displaced from their land while resources are extracted around them. Each cycle of violence weakens state authority further, making it easier for foreign actors to operate without accountability. This creates a vicious cycle where conflict enables exploitation, and exploitation fuels more conflict. Sudan's tragedy is not that it lacks wealth, but that its wealth is captured by forces that thrive on instability. Sudan's future depends on whether it can reclaim control over its resources and use them for national development rather than destruction. Without strong institutions, transparency, and international accountability, minerals will continue to be a curse rather than a blessing. The world must recognize that Sudan's conflict is not isolated or accidental. It is deeply connected to global demand and foreign interests. For Sudanese people, peace is not just about ending violence, but about owning their land, their wealth, and their future. Until that happens, Sudan will remain a reminder of how riches beneath the ground can bring suffering above it. Sudan's story is not just the story of a country in conflict. It is a warning to the world about what happens when wealth exists without protection and power exists without accountability. Beneath Sudan's land lies enough natural wealth to build a strong economy, educate its people, and secure a peaceful future. Yet that same wealth has attracted foreign interests, fueled internal divisions, and prolonged suffering. The wars we see are not only fought with guns and soldiers, but with contracts, smuggling routes, and silent deals made far from the voices of ordinary people. As long as Sudan's minerals are controlled by militias and influenced by outside powers, peace will remain fragile and incomplete. Real stability will only come when Sudanese people regain ownership of their resources and when the international community is held responsible for the role it plays in exploitation. Sudan does not need sympathy alone. It needs justice, transparency, and respect for its sovereignty. Until then, the struggle over Sudan's earth will continue, and its people will keep paying the price for a wealth that should have been their greatest strength, not their greatest burden.